Hello, this video is a guide to handstand. Hopefully this will be a no bullshit guide because oh my god, I have seen so many videos about the handstand on YouTube that I would be so much better off if I didn't. There are just so many tips and drills and tactics online of people doing handstands, and it's really hard to gather all the information, know what's important, what's just a bait. And so this video hopefully will help you know exactly how to get the handstand. Now, a little disclaimer is that this video is about handstand on parallettes. One, because I don't see many videos about the handstand on parallettes, and the second is because I can't do a handstand on the floor. Now, why is that? And I found it out really late throughout my journey, about like 1.5 years after I started. I went to a physiotherapist, and the guy told me that my wrists basically don't bend over 90 degrees. And he told me that no matter how much I stretch, and trust me, I was stretching for an hour every day, just my wrists. And no matter how much I stretch, my hands will not go 90 degrees. And the best they can do is like close to 90, which means that if I slightly overbalance, my wrists give up uh, and I fall. Right. Also, you cannot really use your fingers if you're fully stretched to a point where your wrists are in pain. So he told me that there is no way you can do handstands on the floor. You shouldn't be training calisthenics on the floor, especially like 90-degree push-ups and stuff that require more than 90 degrees in your wrist. And so I was like, wow, that's disheartening. And I started training on parallettes. The second I moved to parallettes, couple weeks, I got my handstands instantly. Now, along the way, aside from countless uh, sessions just trying to get the handstand and not understanding that my wrists are the main factor that I can't do a handstand, I also watched so many videos with so many drills, and they all just didn't work for me, and it's not lack of patience, because remember, it took me over a year, so I was dedicated to handstands. I would do like handstands every day or every other day with like a holding at the wall for like a minute. Now, this may sound very familiar to you, but for a long time, my handstand sessions, or like practicing handstands before my workout, will basically be me trying to do attempts. I would put a camera there to check my form, and then I would just attempt until I get like a 5 second hold, just so I can post it. Now, that definitely did not help my progress. I wasted so much time, so much effort. I got a rotator cuff injury just from constant falling the attempts. And so don't do that. And in this video, I'll tell you exactly what to do. Now, although this video is about parallettes, I feel like it doesn't really take away from the other tips in the video, just because in the handstand on the floor, you simply wanna do like a claw like this and push with your fingers. And on parallettes, you want to use your grip strength. You grab the bar as hard as you can, and you adjust your balance with the rotation, the forearm rotation. I'll remember the name, but you basically go back and forth. Uh, and I feel like this might be actually easier for you guys who have a strong grip, especially calisthenics athletes, because you can simply grab really hard and actually just brute strength through a lot of the movement, a lot of the balance. It's like if you can grip hard enough, there will be a pretty big range of motion that you can just correct by gripping very hard. And if you don't grip very hard, like this low range, you have to compensate with your shoulders or with your core, and that makes it harder. Anyway, now the form is pretty important. However, what you see about like handstand activation online is they tend to tell you exactly what to do in a very strict manner. Now, I like strict tips, right? I want to know exactly what to do. I don't want to like feel it out. So I'm gonna try to combine these two approaches. First of all, you don't really want to keep everything as tense as possible. If you're standing on your feet, you're not gonna be super tense. You're not gonna squeeze your core, squeeze your legs. You're gonna stand rather straight, right? Your legs are locked out, and your body is like straight. There's no significant arches anywhere, but you're not really super engaging anything. Now, the handstand is exactly the same. Especially on parallettes, the only thing you want to truly engage is your forearms. Something that helped me the most was twisting my elbows outwards. It may feel a bit awkward, At first, since calisthenics push movement tend to require the opposite, you usually want to point your biceps forward. But in a handstand, it actually helps because you can disengage your arm, it makes it more stable, and so there's more control in your shoulders, which are most responsible for balancing in the handstand. Next, you want to stare at the floor. You don't want to stare anywhere because where you look kind of dictates your body positioning, right? It has something to do with neck extension. However, the point is you have to look at the spot in between the parallettes, like exactly in the middle. If your shoulder mobility is not that good though, you can get away with looking slightly higher than that. So the point where you gaze forms a triangle with like the centers of the parallettes. So basically look in the middle and slightly higher. And that will compensate a bit for your lack of mobility. That will make your handstands slightly less straight. However, it will definitely help. Your shoulders should be elevated towards your ear. You do not, however, want to push too hard, as that may take away from the balance and be overly reliant on the shoulders. Usually people do it, like professionals want to push their shoulders as high as possible because it sort of locks your whole body in position. So let's say if you're a gymnast, that's very necessary because you want the ideal line. However, it takes away a lot from the control in the rest of your body, and your body has to be really tense. So especially if you're a beginner, it's not the best way to feel it out because you simply won't be able to get into that super straight tense position. It's also not that efficient, and say if you're doing something like a handstand push-up, you don't really need to hold the handstand for time in a perfect line, right? You just want to get into the handstand. And that's kind of what this video is about, you know, because I feel like the most important thing about getting the handstand throughout your calisthenics journey is actually just being able to catch the handstand every time. So you don't waste time in your sets actually kicking up all the time and you're actually able to practice stuff in your handstand. And simply you want to feel the elevation so that your shoulders are engaged in the handstand and you're able to use them, and it also prevents a lot of injuries. Now, what's important is that actually in the handstand you don't usually use your core that much. What you're supposed to use is your chest. Your chest is the lower point than your abs and your glutes, and so it's kind of more important for showing you how to balance. And so what you want to do is you want to twist your chest downwards. You know how you do pull-ups, you usually want to twist your chest upwards, pointing to the sky. Well, here you want to do the opposite. What it will do is you'll tuck your chest in, so your core will sort of engage, and this will prevent your lower back arching, and so your whole line will be straighter. Essentially, this is the easiest way to feel the activation of the core in the handstand. So rather than thinking about your abs, thinking about your glutes, thinking about your legs, you just want to tuck your chest down. Now, this may be a bit hard for people with mediocre overhead mobility, so definitely work on that. You know, if you're able to fully extend the arms up while tucking the chest down, that's the ideal position for you to be in. It'll be very straight. But essentially, during the handstand, make sure that you're conscious of your chest positioning. If your chest starts pointing upwards, you'll notice that your lower back starts to arch and your handstand will not be straight. Now, when it comes to your core, you simply want to keep it stable. All you have to do is prevent it from arching. You don't have to overly engage it. You don't have to do hollow body holds for a minute as a drill for handstands because that's just useless, and that would actually give you a lot of bad habits, right? You don't want to get into a handstand with super tight core because you also don't stand on your feet with super tight core or lower back for that matter. So all you have to do is actively prevent your body from arching, and what you'll find is that you're naturally engaging a slight posterior pelvic tilt, squeezing your glutes a little, but most importantly, remember the tip to tuck your chest downwards. When it comes to legs, your legs should be straight. There's really nothing to do about them. You don't have to squeeze your quads or like point your feet to the sky and together. It's not that important, honestly, because it's the highest point in your balance. It's also like the lightest point, and so really just focus on keeping your legs straight. I see many people trying to do handstand and one of their leg is going over, one is going the other way. So you definitely don't want to do that. So later when I teach you how to do kick-ups, it will be very important for you to remember that the second you kick up, you want your legs to be together. You don't want one to be going the other way because it will simply pull you the other way. Okay, now that we're done with the form, let's talk about the steps on how to actually get the handstand. Now, I believe that this is the only way you should do it. Everything else, in my opinion, is just useless and it's taking away from your actual training. Now, if your goal is solely handstand, I understand, but you really should develop proper upper body strength because it will just make everything much easier. So, requirement one is be strong, right? At least be able to hold like a good pike hold, be able to do some wall walks, be able to do some pike push-ups. This will give you overhead pushing strength, which is obviously super important. Now, if you're a complete beginner, I would suggest you don't even try to learn handstand yet. Start learning handstand when you can, once pike push-ups become effortless. Because otherwise, instead of building your overhead strength, you're wasting time trying to handstand, and then it's taking away from your overhead push during your workout, and that's not ideal. Essentially, you basically want to unlock your handstand at around the same time as you have enough strength to rep out handstand push-ups, right? Because what else do you need the handstand for in calisthenics? And so take your time, really. Build up your foundation, build up your overhead strength, and then start learning handstands. Second is combat fear. Now, this may not be a problem for everyone, but for me, it was terrifying to be upside down. I could not comprehend how to kick up in the very beginning, but it was mostly because of fear. I would just not have the balls to kick up as much as possible. On top of being afraid to be upside down, I was afraid of falling. I'm kind of a pussy that way, and so you really want to try to combat your fear somehow, right? One way to do it is to do wall walks and not go fully, so you won't be falling down. And then once you're comfortable there, start learning kick-ups. However, I know that this might not be very helpful, but remember that if you're doing kick-ups with a wall, uh, you really there should not be any way you can hurt yourself. You're supposed to kick up as hard as you can, hit the wall basically with your legs, and you're at the wall. Nothing can go wrong unless you panic and you start falling sideways, which I understand that your body can sometimes do if you feel very dangerous in if you feel very in danger when you're upside down, right? So take your time, combat your fear. You won't hurt yourself, and you have to understand that. Speaking of kick-ups are really more simple than you think. You simply want to get like pretty close to the wall, about like 2 hands distance, or one. You want to look down at the spot between your hands and well kick up. The form you want to keep one leg completely straight, glute engaged, so that when you actually kick up, one leg is already in position. It kind of guides you through the whole motion, while the other leg, usually your dominant, is doing the kicking. When it kicks up, you simply want to get it to the same position as the other leg, and you're fine. Just remember that you don't really want to drive with your legs, because this will end up with like a banana kick up, and that's the primary reason why most people cannot kick up into a handstand. You want to lead with your hips. So imagine that you're trying to hit your lower back first to the wall rather than your legs. And this may be a bit scary, this may require some practice, but the second you get it, you won't lose it. Next is back to wall handstand hold. What you want to do is to kick up, back to wall, and hold it for time. I know that in this step, your back is kind of arsed, your core is disengaged, and it's kind of a banana shape, but it's fine because at this point, you just want to get used to being upside down, right? Like if this position is causing you fear, then you should not be moving on yet to correcting your form. You just want to get comfortable being upside down. So you just kick up and aim for about 30 seconds, just being there, and try to reach a point where uh, you're not lacking strength to do that, if that makes sense. After that, you want to focus on chest to wall. Now, chest to wall is the thing you should be practicing. You simply either walk up or cartwheel up into the handstand, and you hold yourself at the wall. You hold as close as you can without falling down, and you hold it for time. You want to feel your activation, especially in the shoulders, and try to practice tucking your chest down while extending your arms up, and hold it at the wall. Hold it for months, hold it for at least like 4 weeks or so. There's no steps after this one, and no drills that are necessary. All you have to do really is just hold it at the wall until you're comfortable. Try to grip as hard as possible, try to tuck your chest down, try to engage your core in the proper way, straighten your legs, and over time, when you feel comfortable enough, you can take away one leg, you can take away both legs, and kind of try to slightly balance there. Just slightly get away from the wall and spend as much time as you need there. Because if you know how to kick up, if you know how to stay in the handstand, you've got the handstand. You don't need to do drills like I saw people doing chair handstands, like shin slides on the wall, or like scissors or whatever. You don't need to do that. You simply need to be very comfortable being upside down in that position, having your body engaged in a proper way, and you will have the balance the second you're strong enough, or the second your body gets used to it. Now, once you get used to it, once you can hold like 30 seconds easily, or you can get your feet away for a little bit, then you can try to start combining those. Still, just keep doing this step, but you can add in some attempts, right? The attempts are mostly for combining your kick up with your handstand hold, and that's it, right? You got the handstand over time. Just make sure that you don't spend sessions on sessions just trying to attempt 1,000 times, because that's not going to be helpful. Now, what's very important to learn pretty early on, I suppose, the second you start learning the chest to wall handstand, is how to come off the handstand, which is probably the scariest part. Because honestly, a handstand hold is basically you want to be kind of overbalancing all the time, and fixing that overbalancing with your forearms, with your wrists or hands in a normal handstand, and preventing falling forward. And it's quite simple actually. You want to hold one arm up, and the other one you want to bend, and your body should naturally fall towards the way that your arm is bending. Because when you bend your arm, you pull on your lat, so your whole body is pulled towards one direction, and you're essentially cartwheeling down. As long as you keep the other arm straight and holding the bar, you won't hurt yourself, and just practice this. The best way to practice this is to get into a chest to wall handstand, overbalance, because you cannot practice this without falling already. You want to overbalance, take one arm, and your body will twist towards the same direction as you bend your arm. Drill this in, try to get off the handstand every time this way, and this way you will not have a fear of falling forwards anymore. Now, on the end note, for athletes that are on similar level to mine and are unable to do handstand, the best drill, especially if you have been practicing planche for a while and you can do almost a straddle planche, or you can do a straddle planche, the best way to learn the handstand is to do tuck planche raises. Now, this sounds kind of counterintuitive. However, this allows you to practice your straight arm strength throughout this whole range of like 90 degrees, which will be very helpful in helping you balance the handstand. So that's like a little drill. However, beginners, intermediates, you don't need to do that. All you have to do is hold chest to wall and just put some trust in me. I know that I haven't been making videos in a long time. Life happened. I've been working late nights, bartending, and all that. And so calisthenics had to be a bit put aside for a while. But now I moved, and I'm gonna focus a bit more on calisthenics. I can't promise that videos will come in as regularly as they used to, but I'll try my best. And yeah, let me know what you want to see a video on. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on my Instagram. I post much more content there. And yeah, see ya.